Welcome to Building Bridges, where we not only desire to build people, but to also build myself in the things of Yahweh and to build bridges or connections to what? People all over the world. Welcome to another episode. We're about to continue in this same vein that we have been in. And when I left off last time, I left y'all with this beautiful melody. I can see clearly now the rain is gone. It's gonna be a bright sunny day. So yeah, we in an excellent message that I feel that is very much so needed. The Apostle Paul made a profound statement that was tied directly to the first principle of Yahweh, which is the title of this message. Let all things be done decently and in order. And one of the things that I keep reiterating to you guys is the acronym for the word system. And the acronym is: a system saves you stress, time, energy, and money. And I'm going to keep repeating this throughout the course of this series because I believe that it's very important. And I think that it's going to bless the people of Yahweh if you just hang on to that little nugget that I dropped on you. When we left off, we were dealing with a parable that Yeshua was sharing in the book of Matthew, chapter 25. And we started at verse 14. But where we left off was Matthew 25 and chapter 25, verse 25. And just to go back and kind of rehash real quick, in this parable, I'm sure a lot of my bricklayers and my Bible scholars are familiar with it. This is when Yeshua was talking about the kingdom of heaven was as if a man was going on a long journey and he called forth all of his servants and he delivered unto them his goods. Yes. And we dealt with this in a little small preview that I gave y'all last week. He delivered to them his goods. And it said he delivered them to three individuals. The first individual he gave, was it 5 talents? Yes, 5 talents. I'm going to get this right. He gave him 5 talents and he took those 5 talents and he came back and was like, Master, I doubled the talents that you gave me. And he said, well done, thou good and faithful servant, right? That's what the scripture says to us. And then the second servant, he gave him 2 talents and he took them demonstrations and was like, yeah, I doubled this demonstration right here. And he was like, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Come on here. If you have been faithful over a few things, I know you're going to be faithful over many. So enter thou into the joy of the Lord. Are you listening to what I'm saying? But then we got to this last individual. Come on here. This message is important about let all things be done decently in order. Why? Because the first principle of Yahweh is order. And I'm sharing with you that there was a problem that was taking place here. And when you have this particular problem, this is not the order of Yahweh. The last servant, he gave 1 talent. Come on here. All I gave you was 1 job. I gave you 1 job. How many of y'all done heard that colloquialism here and there? All I gave you was 1 job. He gave him 1 talent. And what this servant did right here was just astounding. It stupefied me. Are you listening to what I'm saying? Yes, in verse 25, chapter 25, verse 25 of Matthew, he said, and I was afraid. This is where we left off. And I went and hid thy talent in the earth. Lo, there thou hast, that is thine. So in other words, he said, man, I had fear inside of me and I hid it in the earth. And what I had to begin with, you can take that if you need to take that with you. But look at what he did with his talent. This is where I left off. And I'm going to go back to that word afraid. It said that he hid his talent in the earth. According to the scriptures back in Genesis, the scriptures says that the Father made us out of what? The dust of the earth. So this means that he hid the talent in himself. Oh, come on here. Come on here. This is what people are doing. They're hiding their talents inside of themselves. They're keeping it to themselves, as my wife said. It said, so this makes you ask the question, when you got something inside of you, what are you doing with it? What are you doing with it? Are you hiding it from the public? Are you hiding it from the people that Yahweh wants you to deliver these things onto so they can multiply? For instance, for me, this is the way I'm working with my talents. The Father gave me the talent to speak. Come on here, to work words wonderfully. So I'm utilizing this platform to take my talent and double that talent. How am I doubling it? Because I'm putting it out there into the atmosphere and into your eye gates and into your ear gates. And it's allowing that word to multiply inside of you. Come on here. So when Yahweh comes to me and he be like, what did you do with your talents? I be like, look at the viewers, Yahweh. Look at, come on here. We all over the world. Are you listening to what I'm saying? So somebody is getting this and they're being able to utilize it, which means that it's being multiplied in them. But he said, I was afraid. And this is where we left off. And we know that Yahweh is the manufacturer, as I said before, and he has put inside of us an operating system, which is who? Yahshua, right? So we know that since he programmed us, that means that he already programmed the necessary things in us for us to function properly. He programmed into us charity. He programmed into us joy, peace, patience. Come on here. Kindness. Come on here. He planted into us generosity, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness. Come on here. Self-control. He programmed all of this good stuff in us so that we can what? Flow in his earth realm. But he said that I was afraid. And according to the book in Timothy, it said that Yahweh did not give us the spirit of what? Fear, but of power, right? And of love, right? And of a sound mind. These are the things that he gave to us. So he gave us, come on here, power. He gave us love and he gave us a sound mind. So what are we getting to? He said he didn't give us the spirit of fear. And when we break down the word fear there, we find out that it's actually a Greek word that means timid. Come on here. Faithless. Are you listening to what I'm saying? So Yahweh didn't give us the spirit of being timid and faithless. So when you're timid, what does this mean? This means that you're shy. Come on here. You are not shy. Are you listening to what I'm saying? You're not shy. Where'd you get that from? Where did you get this from? That is of the devil. Are you listening to me? That is something that the enemy has put inside of you. There is no timidity inside of you. There is no shyness inside of you. In fact, if we go back into history, what we'll find out is that through slavery or through bondage, because I'm not just speaking of black people, I'm speaking of other ethnicities also as well. Come on, jump on this thing. Listen to what I'm saying to you. When we were in slavery and we were in bondage, there was a fear for our lives. So we were taught, don't look directly into the master's eyes. Don't speak to the master unless the master speak to you. So what was the master doing? He was telling his children, speak. Come on here. Say what you got to say. Look people dead in their eyes. So it built up a confidence that was passed down from generation to generation. But in our, come on here, community, what I mean is community of people who have been in slavery and in bondage, what was passed down through generations was this one statement that children should be seen and not heard. This is of the devil. Are you listening to what I'm saying? Children should be seen and not heard. So this is what's been passed down from generation to generation. So whenever it's time for us to get in front of people, whenever it's time for us to say what we need to say at work, whenever it's time for us to say what we need to say to a friend, constituent, or family member, whenever it's time for us to get behind the mic, we're shy because we have this fear of speaking when we're in front of people. This is something that we need to destroy. We need to eradicate that whole scheme, that line of thinking. Come on here. Look people dead in their eyes when you speaking to them. Look people dead in their eyes so that they can understand that I'm not saying anything that I'm saying out of fear, but what I'm saying is out of the confidence of knowing that Yahweh installed in me a heart to speak when I know I need to speak. Yeah. Are you listening to what I'm saying, people? Listening. I hope y'all enjoying this. Is this a good message thus far? Great message. All right. Well, I hope that this is really planting some things inside of you. So we heard children should be seen and not heard. So we're changing that whole narrative. Come on here in our lineage right now, starting today. Speak when you need to speak. Say what it is that you need to say, and then start to develop the confidence and the boldness to speak for Yahweh, because Yahweh can't use you, my brother, my sister, my son, my daughter, if you have fear in your heart of speaking around people. He didn't give you this spirit. But what he did give us, according to the scripture, it said that he gave us, come on here, the spirit of power. Look at that right there. Even when I do it with the fist there, right? You see it? Come on here. The power. And what the power right there is a Greek word. I gotta say this Greek word. This is something that's been in me since early 2000. It's a Greek word and it just sounds so powerful. It's called dunamis. Do y'all hear that? When I say it, it got some bass. It got some power in it. Dunamis. Are you listening to what I'm saying? So when we're talking about dunamis power, what we're talking about is the violent power, the miracle working power of Yahweh. So Yahweh didn't give us the spirit of fear, but what he gave us was the violent miracle working power that he has given us. Listen to what I'm saying. He given us dunamis power. He didn't give us fear. Let's move on. And it said of and love. So not only did he not give us dunamis, he gave us the power of love. And right there, when we look that up, we find out that it's another Greek word that I'm sure a lot of my Bible scholars and bricklayers are familiar with. It's the word agape. Come on here. Come on here. He didn't give us eros love. Come on here. He didn't give us a based field love, which is eros love. He didn't give us philia, come on here, which is between friends and family members, brothers and sisters. But what he gave us was unconditional love, agape love. Come on here. When you have unconditional love, you can't operate in fear, because when you see your brother, you see your sister, and you know it's time for you to say what you got to say, you going to speak to them out of love. Yes. Come on here. When you don't tell your brother and sister the truth, this means that you don't love them. Come on here. If it's something that's inside of you and you need to say it, say it. Come on here. If it's something that they're doing to offend you, say it. Because if you're holding it back and you see that your brother or sister is in error and you hold that back, that's not agape love. That's not unconditional love. That means that all you have is probably some eros love or some philia love. This is, it's my feelings right now, and we're not operating out of our feelings right now. We're operating out of agape love. Are you listening to what I'm saying? Come on here. Unconditional love, which my wife said is the love of Yah. So he didn't give us the spirit of fear. He gave us dunamis power and he gave us agape love. But there's one more thing there that he gave us. It said that he gave us a sound mind. There it is right there. So when we're talking about the sound mind, according to the Greek rendering of that phrase right there, that means that he gave us discipline. Come on here. He gave us correction. He gave us self-control. Didn't I start this off with the 9 gifts and the fruits of the Spirit, saying that he gave us self-control? So it's right here in the scriptures. It's confirming it. When he said he gave us a sound mind, that means he gave us self-control. So we have discipline. What is discipline? It's the ability to correct yourself when you're doing wrong. This is what self-control is. When you know that you're about to do something wrong and you stop it, that's discipline. Woo! Are you listening to what I'm saying? So He didn't give us this spirit. So when we're operating out of fear, this means that we have no power. No power. This right here, no power, because I did this. This means that we have no power. But when we have a sound mind, this means that you impose discipline on yourself. And this is the makings of what a leader is. This means I impose, discipline on myself. So when we have a sound mind, this is an idiom that means to be rational or sane. Listen to this. This is the definition I'm giving you according to www.dictionary.com of the word sound mind. Y'all got that? So it's an idiom that means to be rational or sane. It can also refer to a person's mental capacity to make decisions and to understand the consequences of them. There's some good stuff right here. So this means to be rational or sane. Now look at this. Now let's look what the word rational means. I'm breaking some things down in your ear gates to build a foundation of understanding here. Rational means to be guided by reason and logic rather than impulse or emotion. So what is this getting to? This is getting to the fact that fear can make it hard for you to think clearly. So when the master came to get his talent from this man, he didn't have the ability to think clearly. Come on here. I can see clearly now. The rain is gone. Come on here. He didn't have the ability to be rational. It can cause you to be frightened in your thoughts, which means that your mind isn't going to operate properly. Come on here. So this impulse or our thinking causes us to operate and make decisions in a negative way, leaving us susceptible. Are you listening to what I'm saying? To intense emotion. Listen to what I'm saying. Intense emotion and impulsive decision making. Are you listening to what I'm saying? So remember, I shared with y'all in a message sometime back, probably not too far back. It was a rule that we can follow, which deals with your logic and your emotions, right? Yes. So what I said to y'all was the higher your emotions are, the lower the logic is going to be. And this operates off of a 10-point scale. So motions and logic work hand in hand with each other in an equal but opposite strength. So what does this mean? So if your emotions are at an intense place, this means that your emotions is at probably a 8, 9, or 10. We'll just say for this right here, it's at an 8. So if your emotions are at an 8, this means that your logic is at a 2. 8 plus 2 equals 10, right? So this is what the problem that he was having was that his emotions, had his logic not there at all. And this is what happened when we're an emotional wreck. When we're emotional beings, we're operating out of our anger. We notice that we fight without logic. This is something that I used to do in my youth. When I snapped, I'm telling you, I blacked out, and I took great pleasure in blacking out. You listen to what I'm saying? I took great pleasure. I would kick you when you fall down, black out, and wouldn't care nothing about it. And then I would double back, make a circle, and come back and kick you again to make sure that you wasn't getting up. Are you listening to what I'm saying? So you're operating out of emotion. And listen, when you're faithless, as we found out in one of the definitions there, this means that when you don't have faith in Yahweh, this means that you're an individual who operates out of his emotions and not out of the logic of who Yahweh is. So how can we do things decently and in order, if we're not operating out of logic? Emotions is going to make you be in a place where you're going to hide your talent in yourself. So if I give you anything out of this section right here that we just dropped down, and we gonna keep digging into this, is that to operate according to Yahweh's first principle, let all things be done decently in order, we cannot have a spirit of fear. Speak when it's time to speak. Say what needs to be said. Stop being scared of what other people think about you. Stop being scared of what other people are saying about you, because that stuff does not matter. Are you listening to what I'm saying? The only thing that matters is what Yahweh is saying to you. The only thing that matters is what Yahweh installed inside of you before he formed you on this planet. We do not care one inkling about what somebody else is feeling and thinking about us. When it comes to delivering the word, as my wife said, I hope that this message has been helpful to you, because I don't want my people operating out of fear, but out of strength. Come on here. I want my people operating out of love. I want my people operating out of dunamis. You listen to what I'm saying, and out of a sound mind. And if this message has blessed you, please leave a comment at the bottom. Hit that like button. It looked just like this here. Hit that demonstration so that this message can get out there, and share it with somebody else. Be the salt of the earth. Please, if you have been following for weeks and months and you haven't subscribed, subscribe now. Because I'm quite sure if you still watching at this time, there's some value here. Yes. Come on here. As my friend says, Letarius Whitfield, if I'm saying his name correctly, on the Dear Future Wifey podcast, he says, how long are you going to shack up with us? How long y'all going to shack up with us? Come on here, be a bricklayer. Jump on in there, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment. And in all, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And as usual, shalom. Whew.